You took so long, and I will punish you for that. Give me that bag. Make sure you do all the house chores before I come back, you stupid girl.
She was just 17 years old, and every single morning, before the sun had even decided to rise, before the birds outside had found their voices, before every other person, she was already awake. Not because she wanted to be, but because she had no choice. Her name was Zainab, and this is her story. Stay with me. In a small town in Oyo State, lived a family that did not have much but had enough. Enough food, enough love, enough hope. Zainab's father was a trader. He sold provisions at a small shop near the market. Her mother wove fabric and sold it on Saturdays. They worked hard every day of their lives, and with every naira they earned, they had one dream, one prayer they repeated quietly before sleeping: that their daughter would go to school, that their daughter would become somebody. And Zainab, she wanted that too. More than food, more than sleep, more than anything in the world. She was the kind of child that teachers remember, the kind who sits at the front of the class not because she was told to, but because she wanted to catch every single word. She loved mathematics, she loved reading, she loved the feeling she got when something hard finally made sense inside her head, like a door opening, like light coming through a window. She told her mother once that she wanted to be a nurse, that she wanted to help people, that she wanted to wear white and walk through hospital halls with purpose. Her mother held her face in both hands and smiled. "You will," she said. "I promise you, you will." But some promises are made in the dark, and some promises are broken before morning comes. It was Christmas season when everything changed. Mr. Chinedu, her uncle, came back from Abuja. Now, you have to understand something about this man. He was not a stranger. He was family. He was the kind of relative that people talked about at family gatherings, the one who had made it, who had escaped the small town and built something in the big city. When he arrived that December, he came in a dark blue car with tinted windows. He wore a clean, ironed shirt and spoke with the kind of calm confidence that only money seems to give a person. He sat in their small parlor, crossed his legs and sipped his drink slowly. And then he said the words that changed everything. "Let Zainab come with me." He said it like it was simple, like it was obvious. "I will put her in a good school in Abuja. I want to make her dreams come true. I will pay for everything, her uniform, her books, her fees. She will live in my house. My wife will take care of her. She is family. This is what family does." Zainab's mother looked at her father. Her father looked at the man with the tinted car. And somewhere in that silence, something was decided. They believed him. Of course they believed him. He was family. He had money. He had a car. What reason did they have not to trust him? Zainab packed a small bag that afternoon. A few clothes, her favorite pen, a small notebook she had been writing in since she was 12. And as she packed, her heart was beating fast, not with fear, but with excitement. She thought she was walking into her future. She did not know she was walking into a trap. Abuja was big. That was the first thing Zainab noticed. The roads were wide and smooth. The buildings were tall. Everything moved fast. And for those first few days, she felt it. That feeling of possibility, of being somewhere new, somewhere bigger than anything she had ever known. But days passed, and nobody talked about school. She waited. She assumed they were still settling, still arranging. Maybe next week, she told herself. Maybe the week after. She kept her notebook ready. She kept her pen close. But the days turned into 2 weeks, and 2 weeks turned into a month. And the only thing that was arranged, the only thing that was given to her clearly with specific instructions, with a specific time to start every morning was work. Wake up at 4:30, sweep the compound, mop the floors, wash the dishes, prepare the children for school, watch them leave, come back inside and continue working. That was her life now. She watched those children every single morning. She watched them put on their uniforms, tie their shoes, carry their school bags out of the door with the easy confidence of children who never once questioned whether they deserved an education. They never said thank you to her. They never looked at her for more than a second. To them, she was just part of the house, part of the furniture. And every morning, as that door closed behind them, Zainab stood in the corridor with a mop in her hand and a dream slowly getting smaller inside her chest. She called home when she could, but the calls were always short, always supervised. The uncle's wife would be somewhere nearby, pretending to do something else, but always listening. So Zainab would say what she was expected to say. "I am fine, Mama. Yes, I am in school. Don't worry about me." And her mother, who loved her and missed her and had no reason to believe anything was wrong, would say, "Thank God. Study hard. We are praying for you." And Zainab would put the phone down and go back to the kitchen. The lies were not her lies, but she carried them. Because what was the alternative? She was far from home, she had no money, she knew nobody in this city. If she told the truth, what would happen? Who would come for her? How long would it take? And in the meantime, would it make things worse? So she kept quiet, and she suffered in silence. Months passed, and then a year, and then another. And something terrible began to happen to Zainab. Something that is harder to see than hunger or pain. Something invisible. She began to disappear inside herself. Not all at once. It happened slowly. The way rust takes metal. The way a fire dies when nobody feeds it. She stopped writing in her notebook. She stopped thinking about nursing school. She stopped imagining a different future. She woke up. She walked. She slept. She woke up again. That was everything. That was her world. There is a particular kind of pain that comes from being used by people who are supposed to love you. It does not just hurt your body. It gets inside your mind. It whispers to you at night. It tells you that maybe this is where you belong. Maybe this is all you are worth. Maybe those children who left for school every morning were always different from you. Maybe they always deserved more. The worst lies are not the ones other people tell you. They are the ones you eventually start telling yourself. And Zainab was starting to believe the lies. But then came the night that changed everything. It was raining hard, the kind of rain that makes the whole world go quiet under its noise. The children were asleep, the uncle and his wife were asleep, and Zainab was sitting in the small storeroom behind the kitchen where they kept her mat on the floor. She was supposed to be sleeping too, but she couldn't. She lay there in the dark staring at the ceiling, listening to the rain, and she began to think, really think, not the surface thoughts of what to cook tomorrow or which floor to clean first, but the deep thoughts, the honest thoughts. She thought about her mother's hands, the way they looked after a long day of weaving, rough and tired, but still beautiful. She thought about her father's face on the morning she left home, the way he looked proud and sad at the same time. She thought about the notebook she used to write in, the dreams she used to dream, and then, like a question rising from somewhere deep in her stomach, a thought came. How long? How much longer was she going to wait? How many more mornings was she going to watch those children leave for school while she stood with a mop and told herself that maybe next time would be different? Nobody was coming. She understood that now. She understood it fully, the way you understand something when you have been trying not to understand it for a long time, and then finally, one rainy night, you let yourself see the truth. Nobody was coming to save her. So she would have to save herself. The decision she made that night was not loud. It did not feel like a dramatic moment. It was quiet, still, like the moment before a fire catches, when there is no flame yet, only heat, only intention. She was going to learn. She did not know how. She did not have books. She did not have a teacher. She did not have time that was her own, but she was going to find a way. And so she began. At first it was small. There was a box of old books in the back of the storeroom. Textbooks that belonged to the children, discarded ones they no longer needed. She had seen them 100 times and never touched them. That night, she reached into the box and pulled one out. It was a mathematics textbook, secondary school level. She opened it in the dark. She could barely see, but she ran her fingers over the pages, feeling the printed ink under her fingertips, and something woke up inside her, something she thought had gone to sleep forever. The next night, she found a small torch the children used for reading under their blankets. They had forgotten it somewhere. She took it, and she began to study. Every night, after the house went quiet, after every light had been switched off, after every sound had died down, Zainab pulled out her hidden books under her thin mat and she studied. She started with mathematics because that was what she had. Then she found an old English language workbook, then a science exercise book with half the pages filled and half of them empty. She used the empty pages to write her own notes. She was slow at first, rusty, like a machine that had not been used in too long. Some things she had forgotten, some things she had never learned, and there was nobody to ask, nobody to explain, nobody to say, no, not like that, like this. So she figured it out herself. There is a small shop about a 5-minute walk from that compound. The man who runs it is called Mr. Emmanuel. He sells biscuits and phone credit and pure water. He is old. He wears the same blue beret every day. And he is, without knowing it, one of the most important people in this story. Zainab used to pass his shop every time she went to buy things for the house. And one morning, he noticed her. Not in the way most people noticed her, as a shadow, as a servant, as a girl with no name. He noticed that every time she passed his shop, her eyes went to the newspapers he had pasted on the board outside. She always slowed down when she passed them, always looked a little longer than she needed to. One morning, he stopped her. "You like to read?" he asked. She looked at him carefully. She did not know what to say, but something about his face made her trust him. "Yes," she said, "I like to read." He reached behind him without another word and handed her a newspaper. "Take it when you are done with your errands. Bring it back tomorrow." That was all, but it was enough. Mr. Emmanuel never asked her many questions. He never made her explain herself. But over the following weeks and months, he quietly began to help her. An old secondary school textbook here and a Bible school workbook there. Sometimes he wrote down things for her to remember. Sometimes he corrected her mathematics when she showed him her work on a small piece of paper. He was not a teacher, he had never been to university, but he understood something important. He understood that this girl was fighting for her life in the only way she could, and he did not want to be the kind of person who watched a fire go out when he had the ability to add wood. Zainab got better, slowly, quietly, but clearly better. Her handwriting became neater. Her mathematics became faster. She finished the old textbooks and made notes so detailed she could teach the chapters herself. She read newspapers and wrote down new words and their meanings in the margins of her empty pages. She was building a school inside her own mind, brick by brick, night by night, in a small storeroom behind a kitchen in a house where nobody believed she was anything more than a servant. And for a while, the secret held. But secrets are alive. They grow, they move, and eventually they find a way out. It was the uncle's eldest son who found the notebook first. He was 14, bored and curious. He had gone into the storeroom looking for something and found Zainab's small pile of hidden books and papers tucked under the mat in the corner. He brought them to his mother, and the mood in that house changed overnight. The wife said nothing directly to Zainab, but Zainab felt it immediately, the way you feel a change in temperature before rain. More work appeared. Suddenly, the compound needed extra sweeping. The windows needed wiping inside and out. Dinner needed to be ready earlier. The children needed more help with their own schoolwork. And Zainab was the one told to sit with them, to organize their books, to help them revise, which was its own kind of cruelty, watching them benefit from the education that had been taken from her. She was given less time alone, less time at night. The lights in the back of the house were switched off earlier. They were trying to put out the fire. They did not understand yet that fire does not need a light source to keep burning. It finds its own oxygen. Zainab studied in the morning instead of the night. She woke up at 3. She studied until 4. Then she packed everything away and started on her chores as if nothing had happened. She was not just learning anymore. She was surviving. She had been in that house for almost 3 years when the moment came. She could not tell you exactly what made that particular morning different from all the other mornings. Maybe it was the look on the wife's face when Zainab served breakfast, a look that had gone beyond irritation, a look that said, "You are nothing, and you will always be nothing, and I am not even angry about it. I am just bored by you." Maybe it was the way the youngest child kicked over a bucket of clean water Zainab had just finished filling and did not say sorry, did not even look back. Or maybe it was the fact that it had been 3 years, 3 years of 4:30 mornings, 3 years of watching children with school bags walk out of a door she was never allowed to walk through. Or maybe it was simply the right time. Maybe her spirit, which had been quietly rebuilding itself in the dark, had finally grown strong enough to stand up. Whatever it was, she made a decision. That night, she laid her mats flat and did not sleep. She waited until 2 in the morning, until the silence in the house was absolute, until even the night insects outside had gone quiet. Then she got up. She dressed slowly, carefully. She packed her bag, the same small bag she had brought from home 3 years ago, now carrying books instead of hope, because books were her hope now. She picked up her notebook, her pen, the mathematics textbook that started everything, the papers with Mr. Emmanuel's handwriting on them. She looked at the storeroom one final time. The cracked wall, the thin mat on the floor, the small window near the ceiling that showed a square of dark sky. She did not cry. She had done enough crying in this room. She had done enough suffering in this room. She had done enough waiting. She opened the door. She walked through the kitchen, through the corridor, past the front parlor where the television sat dark and silent, to the front door. She unlocked it slowly, carefully. The click of the lock sounded enormous in the silence, but nobody stirred. She stepped outside. The air hit her face, cool, dark, the sky above Abuja still full of night. She stood on that step for one moment, just one breath. Then she started walking, not running, walking, with her small bag on her shoulder and her head straight and her feet steady on the road. She did not look back, not once. She left. The first days outside were hard in a different way. She had left with almost nothing. A little money she had saved in coins over many months, hidden inside the spine of a book. She found a woman she had seen at the market who ran a small hostel in a backyard. Not a real hostel, just rooms with padlocks, who agreed to let her stay for a week if she helped with cleaning in the mornings. She cleaned in the mornings. She sold small items at the roadside in the afternoon. Groundnuts, water sachets, biscuits she bought in bulk and sold individually. She bargained hard and spent carefully and ate the cheapest things she could find. And every evening, without fail, she studied. She found a church that left its doors open in the evenings for community use. She sat in the back pew under the electric light and walked through her textbooks with the focused intensity of someone who knew exactly what she was fighting for. People saw her there. Some ignored her. Some wondered about her. One woman, a teacher named Mrs. Jones, who came every Tuesday evening for choir practice, began to notice her, began to see the books, began to ask gentle questions. Zainab was careful at first. She had learned to be careful. But Mrs. Jones was patient. She did not push. She just kept showing up. And one evening she told him, not everything, but enough. Mrs. Jones listened. When Zainab finished talking, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You are already doing the hardest part. Let me help you with the rest. Mrs. Jones connected her to a community learning center that ran evening classes for adults who had missed their education. It was free, it was basic, but it was structured, it was real. It was the closest thing to a classroom Zainab had sat in since she left her home 3 years ago. She registered. She attended every class. She sat in a room of grown men and women and teenagers and young mothers who were all fighting the same quiet fight, trying to reclaim something that life had taken from them. And for the first time in 3 years, Zainab did not feel alone. She had support now. Small, unpredictable, uncertain, but real. She had Mrs. Jones, who lent her proper textbooks. She had the center teachers who stayed late to answer her questions. She had a small room of her own, shared with 2 other women, where she could study without hiding, without fear, without the sound of sleeping oppressors in the next room. She walked during the day, she studied at night. She ate less than she needed and slept less than was healthy, but she was alive in a way she had not been in years. She was awake inside herself again. The examination registration form sat on the table in front of her for 3 days before she filled it out. Not because she was afraid she wasn't ready. She was afraid because filling it out made it real, made it a thing that could succeed or fail. She had protected herself from hope for so long that hope now felt dangerous, like standing too close to something that could burn you. But she filled it out. She wrote her name, Zainab Okoye. She listed her subjects. She paid the registration fee in coins and small notes that she had folded so many times they were soft as cloth. And then she waited, and she studied, and she waited, and she studied more. The morning of her first examination, she woke up at 4:30. Old habit. She dressed neatly, she ate a small piece of bread, she picked up her pencils and her identity card and her quiet determination, and she walked to the examination center in the early morning light. She sat down at her desk, she picked up her pencil, she began. She passed. Not just passed, she did well enough that one of her scores placed her in the top category for a community scholarship award that Mrs. Jones ever sent. The day the letter came, Zainab read it 3 times before she believed it. She had been awarded a scholarship to study community health at a polytechnic in the state, full fees covered. She would finally become what she had told her mother she wanted to be, sitting in a small house in Oyo, on a day that felt like another lifetime. She was going to be in healthcare. She was going to help people. She was going to wear white. She called her mother that evening. The call was short because she could not speak for long without her voice breaking completely. "Mama," she said. "Zainab," her mother said. "What is wrong? Why are you crying?" "Nothing is wrong, Mama," she said. "I am calling to tell you that I passed my exams." Silence on the other end of the phone. Then the sound of her mother crying. Her mother, who had believed the lies for 3 years. Her mother, who had prayed every night for a daughter she did not know was suffering. Her mother, who had trusted the wrong person and never forgiven herself for it. "I am coming home soon," Zainab said. "I am coming to show you. Everything is going to be all right." And this time, that was not a lie. 2 years later, a documentary producer working on a series about young Nigerian women who had overcome extraordinary circumstances found Zainab's story through her polytechnic. She was now finishing her final year. She had started a small support group for girls in domestic labor situations, working with a local NGO to identify girls who were being held in homes under the false promise of education. She had become, without planning to, exactly what she had dreamed of being. Not just a nurse, a rescuer, a bridge, someone who reached back and pulled others forward. The documentary aired on a regional television channel on a Sunday evening. And in a flat somewhere in Abuja, a man sat in his parlor and watched it. The camera showed a young woman standing at a podium speaking at a youth empowerment event. She was confident, poised. She wore a white blouse and spoke clearly about what had happened to her. She used the word exploitation without lowering her voice. She used the word education like it was something sacred. She spoke about the girl she had helped, the call she had received, the night she had walked out of a door and never looked back. The man watching the television did not move. He sat with the remote control in his hand. He recognized the compound she described. He recognized the town she mentioned. He recognized the year. He recognized her voice, though it had grown so different, so certain, so strong, so completely beyond anything he could have imagined for her. His wife walked into the room. She looked at the screen. She looked at him. Neither of them said anything. Because what was there to see? The girl they had reduced to a mop and a bucket had gone and built herself into a woman they could never touch. The girl they had tried to keep small had grown so tall they could not even look at her without feeling something they would spend a long time trying to name. Maybe regret, maybe shame, or maybe just the particular private sadness of people who thought they were stopping something and instead had only made it stronger. This is the thing about people who try to break others. They think they are the story. They think they are the powerful ones, the ones with the car, the ones with the money, the ones who get to decide. They think the person they are holding down will stay down, that silence means surrender, that suffering means defeat. But they forget something. They forget that the human spirit does not follow the rules of the people who try to crush it. It finds corners, it finds cracks, it finds old textbooks in dark storerooms and newspaper boards at dusty kiosks. It finds torchlight and church pews and patient women who ask gentle questions at the right time. It finds a way, not because the way is easy, but because the alternative is disappearing. And some people are simply too full of life to disappear. Zainab did not escape because someone saved her. She escaped because she saved herself. First with a decision, then with a textbook, then with a pencil, then with one quiet step through a door in the middle of the night. And every single one of those steps was hers. So, if you are watching this and you feel like the world has placed you somewhere you do not belong, listen carefully. The people who put you there are not your story. They are just the hard beginning of your story. They do not get to write the ending. You do. Pick up whatever you have. Use whatever is in front of you. Do not wait for someone to come and open the door. Walk to the door, unlock it yourself, step out into the dark morning and start moving. Because the version of you that they try to kill, that version is the one that will outlast all of them. That version is the one they will see on the television one day, sitting very still, unable to speak because you became something they could never reach again. Share this video to someone that needs it, and don't forget to subscribe because we bring interesting stories like this one every week. So go ahead and click on that subscribe button and tell me where you are watching from.